Hello folks, we are nearing the end of the week. Awesome, isn't it? We're nearly at the weekend. If you want to be within a chance of winning one of 5 boxes of your finest Yorkshire tea signed by myself, all you need to do is be a member of the Patreon or a member of the channel. Either way, you're supporting the channel financially, and that gives you 1 entry into our prize draw to win one of those 5 lovely boxes of Yorkshire tea. It is the God's Luxury Tea, and it will be with you, signed by me, wherever you are in the world, should you win. We will be doing a live stream, a chatting stream on Sunday, where I'm going to get together with all of you on here and just have a little chin wag as we round off the week. And I'm going to try and do that every week from now on, because it'd be lovely to speak to all of you live and in person once or twice every week. That'd be lovely. Good for everybody's mental health too. And it's the summer, you know, you sit in the back garden with a pina colada or a drink of your choice and listen to me talk at you for a bit. And you can talk back now, even on Sundays. Right, let's jump in, shall we, to our first hobby nightmare of the day from Steve. And he says, "Hey North, hope you're well. Glad to see the channel's growing. Congratulations. Thank you very much. My story here is a pretty simple one, but I thought it was hilarious. A bit of context. This took place in the winter of 2022, and I had started my own journey into the hobby about a year prior. I am much more of a lore and a hobbyist fan than a wargamer, but I've always been interested in playing more. My wife has been a long-time canvas painter, and saw me getting into modelling, and she wanted to join me in the hobby, which was great. As a younger professional couple, time and a growing family makes our ability to play very sparse, which I'm all good with, as it makes those times much more valuable and cherished when they do happen. Well, with your wife there, mate, you've got an inbuilt opponent, so you should be fine. You should be all good. Anyways, my wife and I decided to head to our local shop to buy some paints and some models, etc. And it wasn't our first time in there. The store itself is tiny, but there have been a couple of tables, and in the middle of a Midwest winter, it was packed to the brim with younger kids and older fellows who were just hanging out. Probably running away from the cold, right? Once we saw the crowd outside, we knew what was coming. But the moment my wife walked through the door, everybody stopped, and you could have heard a pin drop. She froze at the door, trying to navigate the crowd, and I could tell she felt everybody staring at her. I was holding the door open for her, and entered in the shop right after her. And seriously, dude, you'd have thought she was a diamond-crusted unicorn or something. I just... yeah. It's a sticky situation, mate. It's a sticky situation. I'm fully with you that there people shouldn't react that way to just seeing a woman in a hobby space. But also, if it's full of kids who are like, you know, uber nerds, and their dads who maybe also are uber nerds, you know, they're not used to it. They're not used to women being in their space. Do you know what I mean? Let's move on. The store manager and I had spoken a few times before, and previously he helped us both pick out some models to get started. He is a great guy, and broke the silence quickly by welcoming us in. But right before he did, he gave a look around the room, and the most pronounced eye roll I had seen in a long time. I couldn't help myself but chuckle a little bit, and said, "Hey man, good to see you again. We're here to get us some more sisters and myself a Land Raider. Seems like a busy day though, which is great." To try and cut the air a little bit. She said something to the effect of, "Do you have those Repentia we were looking at the last time we were here by any chance?" My wife said. The manager immediately ushered us over towards the register to begin the pitch, and the store got back to its normal happenings. He didn't have the Land Raider, but he did have the Repentia, and the tank that she wanted. The display for the sisters' boxes were behind the table where the game was going on, and he pointed them out. She went to go and grab them, but he stopped her and just said, "The boys over there play Death Guard, and really, they embrace the concept." She had no idea what that meant. I told her to wait there and to grab the boxes, and my lord, pubescent teen stink was in full effect. Again, par for the course and all, but woof, was it pungent. We checked out Repentia, Exorcist, and a Redemptor Dread in tow including some pics for fun. Feel free to share if you'd like. Said our goodbyes to the manager and headed back to the car. Let's have a look at your models. It is Friday. I'm going to do most of these on a Sunday now, obviously, but, you know, I thought, whilst I'm here, may as well throw these up. That's a lovely... For somebody who's just started in a hobby, that's a really nice Dreadnought. Blood Angels, too. I loved the old Furioso Dreadnought with the 2 claws on it, because it just turned into a blender after a while. It's brilliant. Big old blender. Awesome, man. Lovely axe assist. Absolutely. Lovely stuff. I'll leave it on for now, and I'll carry on. Upon getting in the car, we both laughed a little bit at the whole experience, and she asked, "Are the Death Guard players the stinky Space Marines?" I was oddly proud, and we continued to paint together to this day. Happy to say that the young man also has entered his overbearing amount of Axe body spray phase, as he was in the shop again a few weeks ago when I went to grab some new Terminators. Again, nothing too nightmarish, more so just a little comedy. Hope you enjoyed, and have a great one. Cheers. Well, you know, I think a lot of people will be able to, shall we say, sympathise with your issue there and with your trip to your local hobby store. I certainly can. Oh my god. Tea time. Oh, of the gods. Put you back down, Mr. Cup of Tea. Astonishingly good. Astonishingly good. A good vintage today. A good vintage. Anyway, Robin says, "Hello, Sir North. Robin here again with a quick nightmare that happened mostly in my own head." You guys are all just crazy. I just... Okay. Not imaginary, but a bit of a warning against focusing on the negative and making assumptions. It's a quick one, so a sip at the beginning should carry you through. I already did one, thank you. I go through a lot of effort to keep the community at my shop relaxed and having fun. As such, I avoid inviting toxic people or troublemakers to attend. When a certain individual walked in and said he wanted to play, I shuddered deep inside. I've known this young man for several years. In fact, he met his current girlfriend, maybe wife by now, in my shop. They've got kids now. He used to play another game and was a major part of a very toxic community over there. Needless to say, I was hesitant to let him play 40k at my tables. Okay, so you run your own store. Alright, okay. But I run a store and have to keep everybody happy and give everyone a chance to play so I can earn some money. I fully expected him to get angry, maybe cheat, and basically be a problem player. So, I paired him against a player that I know is unshakably calm. This was the first guy to pick up 40k when I came back to it. He's literally bought armies for his brother and cousin to bring in more people. When they started playing, I worried I was right as he tossed his dice carelessly into a ruin on the very first roll. Great, I thought. Not even a roll that matters and he's already hiding it in the terrain. Nightmare confirmed, right? Well, I trust Mr. Calm, so I walk away to help another player and slap some paint on my orc truck. I take a table near enough that I can overhear what happens at the table. Much to my surprise, the previously toxic player is quite relaxed at the table. He's making jokes, making clear all of his army rules and what his army is capable of and what units he has. He's actually being nice and putting in effort to make sure Mr. Calm is having fun. It would seem a fair game is being played, so I focus on my painting. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. Do you know when people say, it's not my responsibility to let you know what my units can do? Well, it is, actually. You got to do it at least once in the game. You know? It's not everybody's responsibility in the game to know every single rule and every single codex. I had that rant the other week. Core rules you should know. It's not the opponent's responsibility to teach you the core rules. Right? Unless you're doing an intro game. I get that. But if you've got a codex, say, Leagues of Atan, right? And I've never seen them before or played against them before, it is your responsibility to let me know what your units do when you're using them, right? even before the game. You point them out and let me know what they can do. So many people on the comment sections of these videos always say, no, it's not. I don't need to do that. Yes, you do, mate. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Or you're not playing the game properly, right? Everybody needs to know what everything can do so you can make tactical decisions and play the game like generals would. If you don't know what the opponent can do, then you can't make sound tactical decisions and it stops being a fun game. Because then it does feel like every single thing that's happening is a gotcha because you weren't told about it. Yeah? Simple. Moving on. Once the game finishes and these two gentlemen are packing up, I go over and let him know that I approve of how much he's matured and we share a laugh about the old toxic community. I'm honestly looking forward to having him at the tables on a regular basis. Mr. Calm talked to me afterward, knowing that he was a tester. He let me know about a few rules errors during the game that I wasn't aware of, but as it was very obviously an honest mistake, it was just glossed over to be dealt with at a later time. It apparently didn't really have an effect on the game, so no harm, no foul. Well, I know he's a tester, mate, but if the other guy's gotten a few rules wrong, but it didn't really harm the game, why is he telling you? Do you know what I mean? Like, it seems a bit tattletale-y. I know he's a tester player to make sure people are okay, but, you know, I wouldn't even say that's a big issue. You just got a few rules wrong, it's fine, we all do it. So the moral is, never make assumptions about a player, even if you know them from other games. They may just surprise you. Thanks again, and keep being wonderful. Robin, no problem, man. I agree, yeah, don't judge a book by its cover. But always be able to have your walls up. Do you know what I mean? You're able to have your walls up, and you let people in slowly, but you don't judge people by a cover. Do you know what I mean? I've faced quite a lot of people who have had hygiene issues, who have had attitude problems in the past, and they've turned out to be really cool people because they've grown up a little bit. They've had a few experiences in life that have kind of, you know, forged them on the anvil of war, sort of a thing, and they've come back and been okay. So, yeah, I'm with you. Don't judge a book by its cover and all that. But saying that, mate, saying that, Robin, my friend, there have been quite a few people who look like a stereotype, and then I play them, and gosh darn it, wouldn't you know, they're that stereotype. And I think 40k is one of those hobbies that attracts a lot of people like that. So, if you can, normally, across a room, you can sort of tell someone's going to be a bit off. You know what I mean? I don't know whether it's confirmation bias. Like, you know, you go over there and you start highlighting behaviours that they're doing as toxic because you thought they were toxic originally. I don't know. But there's been quite a few times where I played a game of 40k and, you know, I spied somebody from across a room. We end up getting paired together and it, you know, it's exactly as you'd think. You know, that's happened a lot more than I've been surprised. If you know what I'm saying. That has happened a lot more than actually being surprised by somebody being pleasant. Unfortunately. But, you know, it is what it is. What do you think, guys? In the comment section down below. Have you ever had experience like that? Have you ever judged somebody unfairly when playing the hobby, when playing some Warhammer? Let me know in the comment section down below. Carrying on. Coffee Dog says, hello, great sage of the Northern Realms. Hello. Coffee Dog here with another nightmare from my decades in the hobby. I have included a photo of some Blood Angels to demonstrate my bona fides as a long-term hobbyist. Alright, let's have a little look-see, shall we? Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like those. I like those. Strong colours. Very strong colours. Did you paint these at different times? I mean, you're apparently 10 years, almost 10 years in the future, which is incredible. But, have you painted these at different times in your hobby journey? Let me know in the comments, because the middle one seems a lot more advanced than the other two. For me. The middle one seems more advanced than the one on the left, or one on the right, the priest there, and the priest seems a lot more advanced than the marine on the far left. But, you know, still cool though. Still cool. Alright. The Librarian is a lead mini from the Rogue Trader days of 40k. Note, the era's appropriate green flocked base. Let me have a little look. Oh yeah. I included this mini to give hope to aspiring painters. It is a good idea to compare your most recent work to your earlier models. I painted that librarian in 1994. Look at you answering the questions I've already asked. The sanguinary priest and chaplain are much more recent, and I'm grateful to YouTube for the many tutorials through which I've seen techniques demonstrated and learned more of the way behind my painting results. On to the nightmare. Now would be a good time for a customary sip of tea. Already had one, thank you. In this situation, I am the source of what I'm sure was a nightmare for the other persons involved. At the time, I worked in loss prevention for a major retailer here in the United States. For those who don't know, a major part of loss prevention is the observation and apprehension of shoplifters. On this particular evening, I observed 3 shoppers in their late teens in the store. I noticed them from their nervous energy and frequent glancing around. From their age, I assumed they were from the college across the street. I watched them each select several booster packs of collectible cards. Okay, so you're in a geek store, a nerd store, alright. They proceed to the automotive department, They took turns with 2 looking around for observers while a third removed the outer packaging of the card packs. These boosters had an extra layer of packaging which allowed them to be displayed on pegs and included a radio tag. You may wonder how I was able to see all of this. Let's just say that years of experience have made me quite adept at selecting observation points within my store where I can't be seen. That sounds creepy. That sounds creepy as all hell, man. When the 3 young men in the hobby store left the aisle, I was then able to recover the empty packaging. At this point, they would have been unable to purchase the booster packs as the barcodes were on the discarded packaging. The young men were relaxed at this point, thinking they had gotten away with their theft. From the number of packages, I estimated the total of value to be around $100. I resumed my direct observation of the young men and called for a member of store management to meet me at the store exit. As the young men approached the exit, which was well past the last point of sale, I approached them with an assistant manager. The managers typically had no objection to helping me, as they got to participate in reducing the amount of stolen merchandise. I introduced myself and showed the young men my employee badge. The young men cooperated, and we went to the loss prevention office. Okay. In the office, I asked for all unpaid merchandise. 2 of the young men turned over several Magic the Gathering booster packs. The other relinquished several Yu-Gi-Oh packs. In a brief slip of my normally professional demeanour, I commented, and I quote, "Well, there's always one in the group, isn't there?" Unquote. Nice. Having a go at the Yu-Gi-Oh player, that's hilarious. I have never been into collectible card games, as I prefer having the tangible mini to add to my collection. As I took down their info, a helpful front-end employee ran a tally on the packaging. When the tally came back, I advised the young men that I would be calling the police. This was per policy due to the value of merchandise each had tried to steal. At this point, the young men realised that theft is serious. When talking with shoplifters, I would try not to make a mountain out of a molehill. After all, it is a crime, but there are far more serious crimes that people I deal with committed on a regular basis. I explained to these 3 that there were consequences for their behaviour, but this was not the end of the world. Young people often make bad decisions. The important thing is to learn from them and not make the same bad choices over and over again. Then the police officer arrived. We'll call him Pete. Internally, I said, "Oh shit, here we go." I had had many interactions with Pete. He has a strong moral code and is generally a good guy. In his opinion, theft was a crime and much more serious than a traffic violation. Legally, this is true, as theft at this level is a misdemeanor. Pete's general rule was that if he had to deal with a shoplifter, he was going to take them to jail. His reasoning was that a person might accidentally exceed the speeding limit and thus that was a violation. On the other hand, theft required a deliberate series of bad decisions that made it criminal. He's right. He's right. Technically, After taking statements from me and the shoplifters, Pete asked the first young man to stand up, turn around, and place his hands behind his back. All three young men, went pale, and no one was grinning as the police officer placed him in handcuffs. Pete did the same to the second young man. From my experience, I know that most police officers only carry 2 pairs of handcuffs, so I asked Pete if he needed to borrow a pair. He replied, "I'll be right back," and stepped out of the office. He quickly returned with a pair of flex cuffs. Flex cuffs are basically heavy-duty zip ties that have a metal core. This core means you need bolt cutters to get them off. The third young man gulped when he saw them. I suppose that up until this moment, the shoplifters had held out hope that the handcuffs were a scare tactic. Now they knew with certainty that they were going to jail. Pete departed with the 3 young men shortly after. I know this seems like a harsh outcome. Being college age, these young men were legally adults and subject to adult consequences. In contrast, at their age, I was serving in the army and dealing with a different level of adulting. I hope they were able to move on from this without any lasting impact. I'm sure at this time this was a nightmare for these 3 young men in the hobby. Many try to rationalise shoplifting as not hurting people, just the store and the massive corporation. In this case, the retailer I worked for counted shrink, lost merchandise, against employee bonuses. In theory, this was to incentivise employees to help with reducing shrink. I feel the practice was purely mercenary. Fair enough, it is a business at the end of the day though. Thank you for taking the time to read this. Coffee Dog. Oh my god. Well, at the end of the day, college age, isn't that like 18? It's 18, right? So if you're 18, to me, the rules of being an adult are kind of screwed, because to me, yes, technically at 18 you're an adult, but you're not, are you? When I was 18, I was a fucking moron. An absolute moron. A moron who was only a bad decision or 2 away from being exactly like these lads, right? Only 1 or 2 bad decisions or bad friends away from being like these lads. I hope they went to the police and their parents, that they were thrown into jail, and then their parents had to come pick them up from the jail. That would be enough of a scare tactic for me, you know what I mean? Because once, in my local area, one second, I'm going to take a sip of tea. Okay, so once, in my local area, we actually had a girl on one of our trains, right? And she put one of her feet on the seat in front of her while she was just, looking at her phone or doing something absent-mindedly, right? One of the guards told the police who were on the train, the transport police, and they arrested her. And they took her in. They arrested her for having her feet on the seat. They took her in, they slung her in jail, and they gave her a criminal record. They prosecuted her for putting her feet on the seats. Now, again, this young girl's 18. She's made a single mistake that's cost her a criminal record, which mainly would cost her jobs going forwards. Literally. They look these things up. This girl can't, if she wants to be a teacher, she can't teach, she can't be around kids. Right? All of that's out the window. So, to me, some consequences for minor crimes are way, way, way over the top. With this one, I kind of get what he's doing, because if these young guys are, 18 and they're making a deliberate decision to go out and steal stuff, that's where I'm starting to sympathise with the police officer there. Because he wants to make sure that they never do it again. Do you know what I mean? Now, if I was him, I would take them in, look at their demeanour, look at what they're doing and how they're feeling. And if they look absolutely terrified, and you've already called their parents to come pick them up, and their parents are furious, then I'd let them go. Do you know what I mean? Then I'd be like, right, okay, lesson learned, off you go. You know what I mean? I'll call the store, see if they want to press charges. And obviously they don't, because of what Coffee Dog said there, So you call the store, they don't press charges, and you let them go. Right? I'm hoping that's how that ended for them. But you make adult decisions when you're an adult. If any of you young lads or girls are listening and you're 18, please be very, very, very aware that the world that we are in now is a very, very, very rules-heavy world. And if you're caught breaking the rules, the consequences can be bloody severe. So please make sure that you're not going into hobby stores and stealing things, because they will prosecute you. Games Workshop might not, because it's a massive conglomerate and they can't be arsed dealing with it. But smaller stores definitely will. And they should, because they're losing income, right? They're losing income. And you've made the decision to go in there and steal. My example was a young girl just putting her foot on the seat absent-mindedly, not really making that conscious decision, right? And she hasn't been asked to stop. They just saw her doing it and pulled her in. And said, no, that's disgraceful, you can't do that. You're wrecking our seats. Get in jail, essentially. Again, it is a bylaw on the trains that you're not allowed to do it. There are signs saying you're not allowed to do it. But who's to say she didn't miss them? Who's to say she's not from outside of the local area, right? She wasn't. She was local. But you know what I mean? So there are certain laws in the world, in my country at least, that are way too draconian. And there are certain Jobsworths who are given a lot of power in the UK that you need to be very, very, very careful of. I'm talking, I've seen bouncers do this, where they let power go to their heads and they start breaking up. Like, I've seen, when I've been working in bars, I've seen bouncers cross the street to break up an arguing couple on the other side of the road and threaten to, like, beat up the boyfriend. What are you doing? That's not your jurisdiction. Your jurisdiction is my fucking doorway, and you don't step beyond it, right? You do that, I'm going to call the police on you. That's not what you're supposed to do. Do you know what I mean? I've seen bouncers do that. The power goes to their heads. I've seen police officers do it, right? They stop people. They're rude to people. They pull them this way and that because it goes to their heads. You know? I've had many bosses do shit like this, where they write you up for all sorts because they get off on it. They just get off on it. So unfortunately, we are in a world where these people exist. I'm not sure your police officer friend was one of those, because his reasonings were quite sound, that these guys were adults and they knew what they were doing. But at the same time, I'm just hoping that he put the fear of Jesus into them and then let them go, right? Because, in my opinion, looking at the way society is going, what's going on the streets nowadays, police officers have much bigger fish to fry than a couple of lads stealing a few Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Do you know what I mean? That's me, though. I love you a long time. I will speak to you on Sunday for our prize draw live stream. I'm not sure we'll be doing any gaming on that, because I've got a little bit of an announcement when it comes to gaming and the channel. But I'll make that on Sunday for the people who are lucky enough to be there, and then I'll tell the rest of you about it on Monday. Alright? I love you a long time. Speak to you soon. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and have a good weekend. I'll see you then. Have a good one. Bye now.